I wonder your thoughts on the timing here, the use of these ATACMS, because it certainly got the attention of Russia implementing a new nuclear doctrine in response, hearing people talk about Article 5 all over again in Eastern Europe today. Was this well-timed to strengthen Ukraine's hand at the negotiating table, or a poor decision to do this late in the game?
Well, thanks for having me on again, Joe. I think it was definitely well-timed, although I would say it could have come a lot sooner. So I don't believe it's escalatory. What Vladimir Putin has been doing, again, threatening to use nuclear force and raising the nuclear, dagger, if you will, is the escalatory factor here. So in providing this new permission, if you will, the White House is basically trying to strengthen Ukraine's hand. There's a recognition that under President-elect Trump, there will be an effort to make peace. And in order for the peace to be fair and to be durable, the Ukrainian government needs to make sure that it can hold on to territory as a bargaining chip. And that's where these weapons come into play.
Well, how quickly, though, can they make a difference in that effort when we're just 2 months away from a second Trump presidency, Evelyn? It's one thing to use the ATACMS once, arguably they were not incredibly successful in doing so. Russia intercepted 5 of the 6.
Well, Kailey, though, one of them hit a depot, an ammunition depot, and caused massive explosions. So that's a lot of ammunition that Vladimir Putin won't be able to feed into his war machine. And the idea is to make sure that he knows that time's not on his side. But the other aspect of this, as I mentioned, is that Ukraine wants to hold on to a piece of territory that it seized in Russia. And that's where the Russian government now is putting the new North Korean forces. So if Ukraine can use the long-range artillery to hit those North Korean forces, it can hold on to the territory. It can also send a very strong signal to North Korea and any other friends of Russia that might be considering sending their own personnel in to help Russia.
What's going to happen in Ukraine between now and January 20th, the inaugural, and the extent to which Vladimir Putin could exploit this period of time while Joe Biden is still in office?
Well, first of all, I think that Ukraine could exploit this period of time. The U.S. government is sending shipments in, Joe, as fast as possible. They've provided this permission. I think we'll also see sanctions. But, of course, there's always a danger that Vladimir Putin will, send those North Koreans in, slaughter the Ukrainians. That would obviously be distressing. And Vladimir Putin has been conducting sabotage operations all over Europe. Just this past week, we believe, it looks likely that the Russians cut some undersea cables. This is incredibly alarming. We've had, officials in Europe refer to it as hybrid warfare, warfare. So Russia is really playing with fire right now in terms of its actions vis-a-vis the United States and our NATO allies.
Well, and when we focus on its action in terms of the revision to the nuclear doctrine that we learned about today, Evelyn, Sergei Lavrov, when speaking at the G20, said Russia would like to not see nuclear war taking place. And I just wonder if you really do think Russia's attitude about what would qualify as justification for use of these weapons has really changed, or if this is just bluster and signaling more than anything.
I mean, to my mind, it's bluster and signaling, because I cannot imagine a Russian military and a Russian political establishment actually sanctioning the use of a military weapon, or a nuclear weapon, or some kind of nuclear explosion in and around Ukraine. That would provide immediate, literal fallout, on Russian forces and Russian civilians, but also political fallout. And internationally, it would be widely condemned. Putin can't foresee what the risk would be to him, even maintaining his position in Russia. So I think the idea that the Russian government would follow through on such a threat is, to my mind, the likelihood is not very high. It's incredibly reckless of the Russian president, again, to make these kind of threats. So he's clearly desperate, Kailey. I look at this as a sign of weakness, frankly. Every time he makes these threats, it's when he feels like he doesn't have a better option.
Does Volodymyr Zelensky need to meet with President-elect Trump as soon as possible?
Well, he met with him recently, Joe, during the campaign. So I don't know that there's a rush to do that. I think that it'll be interesting to see how President Trump approaches this, because I think we have to take him at his word that he does want peace. The question is whether he can get a real peace, a lasting peace, and a peace that's fair. The key to this, of course, will be providing Ukraine with some kind of security guarantee. And if President Trump isn't going to back NATO membership for Ukraine, which, by the way, I think all NATO members now, except the United States, have agreed behind the closed doors that they would be open to that. If President Trump doesn't want that, then President Trump's going to have to offer a bilateral security agreement like the one we have with Japan and South Korea and others. So I think it'll be interesting to watch President Trump's negotiating position as it develops. I'm hopeful that he will actually help Ukraine at the negotiating table in the end, because the only way is for Putin to understand he can't continue waging this war against Ukraine. He will not win.
Well, and as we consider that the president-elect wants to see an end not just to this war, but the one in the Middle East as well, Evelyn, I wonder if you think peace there might be able to come sooner, perhaps even before he takes office. Obviously, there was reporting that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to deliver a ceasefire in Lebanon as a kind of gift to the incoming president. But the U.S. does have a plan on the table now. It does seem like we may be getting closer to that moment, but I wonder what your view is.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is, I'm going to be cynical here. I know that the Biden administration is working very hard. They have their special envoy, Amos Hochstein, in there negotiating the agreement. Having said that, again, cynically, I think that the Netanyahu government will drag it out so that they can give this win to President Trump as president. Maybe they'll do it sooner, but they'll still try to tie it up in a bow and deliver it to President Trump, which is fine. At the end of the day, we want peace, and if that's how they want to present their acquiescence to the compromise deal, that's fine. That should be fine with everyone concerned.